live and local. The Mark Moses Show on Sports Radio 95.9 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Hope everyone enjoyed their weekend. I know this woman probably didn't really have a weekend. She was on Twitter all day covering the NFL draft and especially the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for Sports Talk Florida. Great friend of the show. Her name is Jenna Laine. And yeah, she does a phenomenal job covering the Bucs. Jenna, how you doing today?
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you what. After I have one more call I have to do after this, and then I'm telling you, I'm walking in the house and I'm probably going to crash on the floor like a small child or a puppy. You know how they don't ever find a couch or a bed, or they just crash in the middle of the floor? That's how I feel. I'm so tired.
You're like, Jenna's down for the day. That'll be your voicemail, and you'll come back tomorrow. But let me ask you something. You were there last Thursday night for round one. I know you were at One Bucks Place, you and the other media members who cover the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What was that like? The seventh pick's up there, and Johnny Football is still available. Is there kind of like, what's going to happen here? I mean, was it just all out? We have no idea who the Bucs are going to take?
You know, I had an idea. I thought, though, that if Manziel was available, because I had actually put on my Sports Talk Florida prediction that I thought it would be Mike Evans at the seventh pick, but that was because I didn't think that Johnny Manziel would be available. I was even asked, if you had a shot at Manziel, would you take him? And I said, I would, but and I know that the Bucs did, in fact, like him. They just did like him at that seventh spot. So, but you know what? It makes sense to me. I thought it could have gone either way. A first-year general manager, you draft a quarterback at 7, you guys are forever linked for, your tenure together. And, I'm not going to say that ultimately sealed the fate of Mark Dominic, but Josh Freeman was his first draft pick, and that was a first-round pick. You saw how that panned out. Looked like it was going well, and then things fell apart last year. So that would have been a really gutsy, bold move for a first-year GM. He played it safe there, but then later on in the draft, he did some uncharacteristic things that I think a lot of people were questioning, raised eyebrows, but it was interesting.
We're here with Jenna Laine with Sports Talk Florida. Give her a follow on Twitter at Jenna Laine Bucks, covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then you make the pick, and then Lovie Smith goes, oh, yeah, Mike Glennon's our guy for the future. You're like, wait, what? Where did this come from? I mean, this was one of these poker face type moves by the Buccaneers, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell that a number of teams, once it all became kind of apparent, and I had actually talked to some people within the organization in the 24 hours between that Friday and Saturday pick, the Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Hearing that, Mike Glennon did enough in minicamp, the voluntary minicamp, to convince them, hey, let's keep this guy around. They hadn't worked with him before. They just were kind of going what they saw on tape. But once they sat down in meeting rooms with him, and Lovie Smith even said that in his press conference, once they sat down in meeting rooms with him and really got a feel for him, the type of worker he is, they decided, you know what, let's keep him around as our backup. But it's interesting because, they reportedly fielded a lot of offers from him, and Jason Light even said that. He didn't say exactly how many, although I've seen some reports out there, so I didn't get confirmation on how many. But, a number of teams were interested. But it was interesting because, this whole time I'd gotten the vibe that they were kind of going to move away from Glennon because he wasn't really a fit for Jeff Tedford's offense. But this just goes to show you, when you have a new offensive coordinator come in, we don't really know a whole lot of what to expect there. So, we're only going by what this person tells us, what this person tells us. We can't necessarily go by our own eyes and say, oh, he's a fit or, oh, he's not a fit. So, but, he's going to be their backup. He's going to be behind Josh McCown. And I see the two of them having a good working relationship together. They're both great guys, really good attitudes, come to work, ready to go. There's no diva in either of them. So, but yeah, real puzzling that you have an opportunity to get a real stud at QB. Even Teddy Bridgewater, I know that he just had a horrible pro day, and then I heard his workouts weren't all that great. But I mean, the tape that he put up there, I don't know. I mean, but I guess I wouldn't have taken him at the 7th pick either. So
it's okay.
It'll be interesting.
No, it's okay. Well, going back to Mike Evans real quick. This guy was brought in. When you look at that draft pick at number 7, very high, top 10, this guy's got to make an impact right away. There can't be that much learning curve, right? I mean, this guy has got to be the deep threat this fall for the Buccaneers.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he has some big shoes to fill with Mike Williams being gone, and that really created that pressing need to have. I mean, it would have been a little more of a luxury decision to take a quarterback there, but you had a pressing need at wide receiver, even though it's a very deep draft at wide receiver, and you saw that, they went back in the 6th round and got their speed guy. But I don't really have any concerns either about Evans being able to step in right away. He didn't run a full route tree at Texas A&M. That is one of my concerns, and I'm going to have to get with some of his former coaches there to kind of, see where he is at as far as learning, and I'll get with some of the Bucs coaches and find that out too. But, I mean, big physical guy, there's no doubt in my mind that, he's going to draw double teams just like a Vincent Jackson would. They really can't, but, defenses are going to have their hands full, with both those guys. You can't just put a tiny little corner on them, so they're going to give, they're going to give opposing teams fits there, and then you throw that big body tight end that they got, he should be pretty good as well, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. So, they're opposing teams, I'll tell you what, they've been put on notice as far as this offense goes.
Jenna, you look at the draft picks overall, you're bringing up the second-round guy from Washington. No defensive players, all offense. Is this correct when you look at all the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I'm a little puzzled especially with Lovie Smith as the new head football coach of the Buccaneers.
Well, they got a lot of defensive guys in free agency, those key pieces. They did get Alteron Werner. They spent a lot of money on him. They spent a lot of money on Michael Johnson. So, they got Clinton McDonald, who, is going to play opposite Gerald McCoy, defensive tackle. So, they got a lot of those key pieces. There's a de-emphasis on they also got Mike Jenkins as well at cornerback. Yeah. There's a de-emphasis on that strong side linebacker because he's only out there about 50% of the time. The rest of the time you're in nickel, so it wasn't like they needed to go out there. Jonathan Casillas is going to be the starter in that role, and he'll do a fine job. And they did get a backup linebacker in that position, Dane Fletcher. So, overall, I didn't see a lot of pressing needs for defense. I thought maybe they would have taken like a pass rusher. I didn't see them going after Aaron Donald, and I had said, there were rumors going around that the Bucs were heavily interested in him, but I was told a few days before the draft that was not going to happen. So even though he's a tremendous defensive tackle, they were very happy with Gerald McCoy, and they were going to go that route and stay that way. So, but yeah, you could have gone with a pass rusher. You could never have enough good pass rushers, and there's a lot of unproven guys on this team. So, but they ultimately felt they had a lot more pressing needs on offense.
We're here with Jenna Laine, Sports Talk Florida. Give her a follow. It's a must if you like the Buccaneers. Jenna Laine Bucks. This is kind of a follow-up to the Mike Evans question when I think about it. You look at all the moves you just said. You're making all those free agency moves on defense, drafting all these guys on offense. You bring in the quarterback. You bring in Lovie Smith. Aren't the expectations high in the NFC South for the Buccaneers? Like, hey, we better at least go for a wild card. This can't be another 5-11 campaign. Wouldn't you say that this is to go for the playoffs or bust?
Well, you look at the quick turnaround that Lovie Smith did in Chicago. He turned them into a contender almost overnight. I don't know if that's – and I know that, him being a head coach, he was fired on 10-6. Mm-hmm. So he knows that, there's not a whole opportunity for a learning curve there. But, this is a staff that's worked together before. I just don't know if the expectation should be playoffs this first year or not. And the reason I say that is because I think a lot of outsiders, Bucs fans, and I initially felt this way too. I thought the foundation had already been laid for the organization, and they were just missing a few key pieces. But we saw in free agency period that they kind of had to relay the foundation. They had to gut the place a little bit, get rid of some guys, and really bring in some of their own guys. And we saw that too with the running backs. Who would have thought that they would add another running back to the mix? But here they went ahead and did it. So it just kind of goes to show you that, what we may have viewed as, okay, they're almost complete, the mission is almost accomplished, they're ready to win now. The other staff didn't necessarily feel that way. So it's really beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And Lovie Smith isn't just going to come in and play cleanup on somebody else's mess. He's going to relay the foundation, do the things the way he wants to do them.
All right, two more. I know you're a busy lady. I appreciate you coming on. What about the division? You look at Atlanta, Carolina, and New Orleans. What were your thoughts on some of the moves that they made? Any of them kind of puzzle you, or do you think they had a good draft as well?
And I don't have all of their picks right in front of me. So, but overall, just starting kind of at the top, like Atlanta, I thought they could have used a pass rusher, but Mack was out of the picture. Clowney was out of the picture. There had been talk of them trading up. They ultimately didn't. I don't know if they had a whole lot to work with. You saw what they gave up for Julio Jones, so there really wasn't. I guess maybe they could have tried to put something together. But, yeah, they had needs at pass rush. But instead they went with another great choice, in taking offensive tackle Jake Matthews, giving Matt Ryan the protection that he needs. That was a serious need for them. So I thought that was a good move. And then you go over to Carolina. I know that they had needs at the wide receiver position, and they got the wide receiver, Kelvin Benjamin from Florida State. They were in dire need of receiving help, and you saw that. I mean, Steve Smith left, Hedgen Jr., and it's like, okay, who are these? You expect Cam Newton to do this all himself? So they addressed that. I just don't know. I mean, there were the rumors about Kelvin Benjamin, just not really wanting to work. That struck me the wrong way. So that'll be interesting to see how that kind of turns out. And then New Orleans got themselves a wide receiver, too, and the name escapes me as to who it was, but I remember my reaction being fairly good. I was like, oh, they went and got themselves a little weapon there. So, again, I don't have the piece of paper in front of me to remind me of who it was. But, overall, it's a tough division. I mean, I kind of look at it as, Carolina, the way they emerged last year with that defense, that defense had another year to gel together. Luke Kuechly was just on fire. They continue to put pieces there together. I mean, they're tough, and it'll be interesting to see if Atlanta can have the same, they can have a rebound, because last year was just, I couldn't believe some of the stuff that I was seeing, but, that just goes to show you what happens when a team is built to win at a certain point, and it reaches that peak, and then you see that descent. And so I don't know next year if they're going to have a rebound or if they're going to, kind of have that. I mean, I guess you can't really descend much from what they did last year, but that's another interesting one to watch. And then, the Saints, as long as Drew Brees is calling the shots, they're real tough to stop.
Great answer. Appreciate that. Sorry I put you on the spot there. That was a great answer, though. I appreciate that. And let me end with this then. Jenna Laine with Sports Talk Florida. On Twitter, you did a photo of you doing the Johnny Football pose. What's going on here? You had to do it, huh?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we had the room to ourselves. We had just gotten done doing a video. This was Amanda and I. Amanda Borges. She works for Sports Talk Florida. She's our assistant digital editor, and so we do some videos together and stuff. We were just kind of goofing off. It was late at night, and I think after a certain period of time, especially when you're doing a lot leading up to the draft, you get a little loopy. And so this is definitely one of those things. I took a picture of her at the podium. We just had a great time. So I think you do have to have a little bit of fun just to kind of. It helps things go by a little bit easier. And I'll tell you what, when you have laughs like that, I think it's a little easier to stay awake when you're driving home. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. I loved it. It's funny? I do it all the time now. I do it all the time, the Johnny Football pose. I think it's going to catch on. Forget Tebowing. Now we're...
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Jenna Laine.
And cheerleading, there was a cheerleading move that was kind of, and you weren't supposed to do it when you got into college, but like when you did the All-Star, I did the All-Star cheerleading thing for a long time.
Okay.
Actually, there's a lot of All-Star teams where you're out at. So, but, that was kind of like you do like this little, kind of like that, I guess, little money move. And,
nice.
Yeah, so maybe I was just kind of bringing it back to the cheerleading days. And,
man.
Whatever.
You're like, I love your PR answer. You're like, well, I was a little loopy trying to stay up. So, I was just pretending I was Johnny Football. It's the least I can do for Sports Talk Florida. Her name is Jenna Laine. Follow her on Twitter. It's pretty good. Jenna Laine Bucks if you like the Buccaneers. Jenna, I appreciate your help. I know you're a busy lady, and I hope I can get you on again.
Absolutely. Anything for you, Mark. You know that.